best has always been the Above the Rim soundtrack. So, yeah, it's been the best one to me. So back with Judge Wanda Jones. Now, I have a question for you. The question is, how do you feel about, we were talking about this on break, just wanted to bring it to the forefront. How do you feel about judicial races being decided by dollars and cents?
I think it's a big problem. I feel like people should be concerned that when they don't have an idea who the judges are, and you have certain groups of people or certain people contributing to judicial campaigns, I think it compromises the appearance of fairness and you're supposed to be fair and not take into consideration those kinds of things. But there have been some studies done on judicial races and a correlation between who donated to a campaign and the favorable outcomes that those particular lawyers get in a courtroom. And I think we shouldn't be ignoring that. We should pay attention to it, and we should make changes so that, I'm not saying that any judge who takes a donation, I get donations, but that any judge that takes a donation is unfair, that they're going to favor the person that donated to them. I'm just saying that there are studies that are showing a correlation, and we shouldn't be ignoring it. So we should put checks in place. We shouldn't be taking donations, lots of donations, or there should be a cap on how much money can be spent on a judicial race. Because
Really?
it's getting out of control. I mean, the Ohio Supreme Court races, the amount of money that is going into those races it's crazy.
And I remember one time that, there was a candidate, there were two candidates, both of them I liked, but I found out that one had like a $450,000 war chest, and I'm like, and the other one didn't have as much money, and that person ended up losing. They end up winning the judicial seat, but why do you think so much money goes to these judicial races? Because of the favoritism that they would get in the courtroom with those particular judges, or?
Well, I'll tell you, that doesn't happen for black candidates, so I can tell you right now, there wasn't a black candidate who had $450,000 in a war chest.
Right.
And I think, one of the things that we have to pay attention to is that there are some really excellent lawyers. Every time one comes into my courtroom who has the characteristics that I can see are going to make a good judge, I always pull them to the side. I tell them, I encourage them to think about that in their future. But I know that, when you come from a background like mine, like I graduated from Glenville High School. My mom was a single mom. She raised 3 kids by herself. She adopted some kids later on, and she had another one. So I had a lot of siblings, but when I was little, we were poor. And so I don't have a trust fund or a family member who has a whole bunch of money.
Right.
I don't have a $450,000 war chest, and neither do most of the black people that I know. So it's going to be difficult for really good candidates who will make excellent judges to be able to compete with something like that.
And that means that the diversity won't be there because of the money factor, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had the last time we spoke, and it was somewhere else. And by the way, you said that your courtroom is always open, correct?
It is.
It's open to the
I
public?
always tell everybody, yeah, you're welcome to come to my courtroom. I had a few sentencings today. There was probably 10 family members there for a defendant. That's fine. It's an open courtroom.
Okay. So, and shout out to Dr. Richard Montgomery. He said, hey, Judge Wanda, along with Ramina Foster and other people that said that, people actually like you.
You say that like that's not supposed to be the case.
I mean, the thing about it is most people don't like judges, but, people actually like you because, it seems like you have a great temperament. You keep that, no matter how bad can it get into the courtroom, and how do you keep your temperament to not yell or anything like that?
I mean, the one good thing that judges have, the one tool that judges have is when things are getting intense, you can take a recess because you're the judge. So you can simply take a break. I do that. I'll take a break if I need to. But I realize that everything that I say, people are listening to it. There's a court reporter writing it down. And I don't want to do anything that will make someone feel like I was angry or that I made a decision based on emotions and not based on the right thing and based on the law.
Okay, so fact or fiction? And a lot of people, and I've heard this saying, that if you make the judge mad, like if you're defending and you make the judge mad, if somebody made the judge mad before you get sentenced, then you're going to get sentenced worse before.
Never. I had a prosecutor jumping up and down, and I'm not talking symbolically. He was literally jumping up and down, screaming. He slammed the door. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. I didn't scream back. I didn't throw him in the jail cell and hold him in contempt. I realized he's out of control right now. It's not going to do me any good to join him in that. And I said, the other attorney was trying to apologize for him, and I said, you don't need to apologize for him. When he calms down and realizes what he's doing, he's going to apologize for himself. And he did. Handwritten apology letter, dropped it right off at my chambers the next morning. So sometimes, I mean, you as the judge have to realize that you set the tempo and the pace for the culture in the courtroom, and I want the culture of my courtroom to be one of fairness and the rule of law.
Okay, so you wouldn't, scream. Like, why?
I got a question. When was the last time you put somebody in contempt court?
I've never actually held anybody in contempt of court.
You was a good lady. You was a good one. You were a good one.
Yeah, she is. And the reason why you don't do that, because most judges would be quick to throw somebody behind bars to teach them a lesson. Why won't you do that?
Well, I think contempt of court is a last sort of, it's a sort of a last-ditch effort, and it depends on the type of contempt of court. If you're talking about one that's based on somebody's behavior in the courtroom, those types of contempt hearings and actions, somebody's got to be really out of control. I have stopped proceedings. I have told the people in the courtroom that this is a courtroom and we're going to behave like it's a courtroom. And if you're unable to, I'm going to give you a moment to step outside. And then I've got deputies there that'll help make that happen if I need to. But I would have someone leave the courtroom before I would throw them in a jail cell.
Okay, so you would say, you need to just go ahead and go. Now, what about defendants? Because the people who are being accused of the crime, and some have been locked in jail, those actions, and how many of those people have, you have to rein in, at that.
Believe it or not many.
Really?
Believe it or not, I have had people. I had a guy who they were talking about him in the paper recently about the number of cases he picked up while his case was going on, assaulting jail staff, got into it with the warden. It was in Cleveland.com not that long ago. Every time he came in my courtroom, he treated me with nothing but respect. I treated him with nothing but respect. He still got a sentence that was appropriate for what he did, but I think most of the time, if you treat somebody with respect, they'll treat you with respect. I mean, I had a guy one time that was absolutely delusional, and I ordered him to go have an assessment done. The state wanted me to lock him up and have him transported to a facility, and I didn't feel I needed to do that. His lawyer was more than capable of helping him get there, and so I listened to him, treated him with respect, and let him walk himself in to get the assessment done.
So pretty much, no matter if they're, and you said that you deal with murder, people who've been accused of murder, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Assaults and all that. You deal with the felonies. You don't deal with, I just argued and threw a beer through a window. You deal with, I threw something at somebody and tried to kill them, pretty much.
Today I sentenced someone who shot up a bar. Luckily nobody got hurt, but the bullet whizzed past the bartender's head. Yeah, serious stuff.
So you deal with some, and you said no matter what they've done, you still treat them with respect, right?
Right. I mean, that doesn't mean they're not going to get a sentence. I am not going to sit here and pretend like I am the lightest sentencer. I'm not going to sentence someone who's dangerous to probation. But I don't need to disparage somebody to impose that sentence. They have a family member usually that's in the courtroom too, who is in a lot of pain because of their family member's decision. There's no reason to berate somebody. Life already has natural consequences for most people,
Right.
and a prison sentence is that's a consequence.
Right. So you pretty much, as a judge, you don't try to throw salt in the wound.
Right. There's no need to. I try to say something encouraging, and if I can't say something encouraging, then I just impose the sentence, wish them well, and move on.
Okay. So, and I think that's the best way if you treat people like they're human, because that's the main thing. And
Right.
the thing about it is, like, in speaking of human, I don't know if you want to bring this up, but back when you were running against another opponent, you weren't treated as well. You just want to talk about that, or you want to leave that in the past?
I mean, I feel like this time around, I don't want to necessarily bring that into it. It's done. It's over. What I did learn is I can't do this by myself. I need the community. If the community wants fair judges, I've proven myself. There's no question about it. And I'm not a braggy person, but I know for sure that I have proven that I'm an excellent judge. And if people really want to have good judges, then I need support.
Right.
So I don't want to focus on that last race. I'd rather focus on what can be done to ensure that you have a judge on the bench come November 9th and not a politician.
Okay. So another thing that I wanted to ask you is that, we have this Democrat, Republican, everything else going into the flame, blue state, red state, things of that nature. And you saying that politics, how big does politics try to play in the judicial races, and how much should that stop?
It's huge. I mean, in 2018, I switched parties in order to run against a judge who was doing things that I didn't think were right. Saying things to people, gave someone a trial tax for wanting to exercise his right to a trial. And I felt like that wasn't right, and so I wanted to run against him. But in our county, if a person has been on the bench for a long time and they're an incumbent, it's very difficult to win a race against an incumbent.
Right.
So I felt like it was better to give the people a choice. So I switched parties so that I could be on the ballot in November. And I didn't win, but I did well with no money. So that told me that there were enough people out there that it made sense for me to run again. So I ran again in 20. And then, with the issues with the pandemic, it was difficult to get in front of as many people as I wanted to, but I was absolutely combating a Democratic sample ballot. And I think if you want fairness in our courts and you don't want politics in our courts, then you got to look at the actual candidates.
Look at the actual people.
The actual people.
And the thing about it is, like, sometimes in the interest of getting your people in there, getting whether it be Democrat, Republican, or whatever, because the two parties, they're independents, you count, but, you have to pick a party in order to vote in the primary, which sucks, but that's what you have to do. And, and that brings people who are registered to vote, they don't trust neither party. What do you say to them that they don't trust neither party at that time?
I say, I feel them. I feel them from the bottom of my heart.
Really?
Yes, I understand that. If you have been voting, and you've been voting the way people tell you to vote, and then you still look at our court system, and you look at our, communities, and you see things are not better, even though I'm doing everything that people are saying I should do, I can see why somebody would be like, I don't trust either party. Neither party is doing anything for me. I could see why someone would feel that way. Sure.
What do you feel about we had the Black Party?
I mean, I just feel like our community needs to have a seat at every single table, every table. And I feel like we need to be demanding, we need to first know what we need and know what we want to make our community safe, you know, and productive and someplace that you want to go at the end of your workday. And then we need to demand those things. And I'm not talking marching, I'm talking voting.
Okay, that's what's up. So we're going to take another intermission. When we come back, we're going to talk to Judge Wanda C Jones and ask her if she wasn't doing all the stuff that she was doing, and what's her favorite hobby. Like, we're going to talk some more about stuff. So we'll be right back on the Headline Eye on Nerve DJs, WNRV 108.1.com.
So